Good morning, good morning. I'm glad you guys could join me. I'm actually up early out here on the West Coast. It's dark. Man, it's cold. It says 45 degrees on the dash. Now, I know many of you back east is going to say, man, that ain't cold. Well, I have adapted to this weather out here, which remains rather warm most of the part of the year. When you hit anything below 50, brother, it's cold. But I ain't complaining about it. I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful because we get an opportunity to feel the differences in the seasons and see it as well, just in a different way. It doesn't hit us the same way it hits you guys, but that doesn't mean that it ain't impacting us the way it impacts anyone else. I will say that, man, when you got snow on the ground, it's a whole nother lifestyle, especially when you're near the Great Lakes and you get that slushy stuff, man. You know, I say that to say this. Everyone's situation and circumstances, we all know is different. But we cannot judge how it impacts the next man. Because that slushy snow, man, sometimes that stuff is depressing. That could be depressing. It could be frustrating. But to some people out here who are used to wearing flip-flops and shorts all the time, and this is where they grew up, this time of year can be depressing. It's to each their own. So I say that to say this. Be a little bit understanding when someone is not going through, or when someone is going through something that from your perspective you're saying, oh man, it ain't that bad. Well, maybe to them it is. You know, I have had to learn, and I'm still learning, that sometimes the difficult things in life, it's not always the situation itself, but it's the person's ability to handle those difficult situations. I say that because a lot of us that I grew up with, of course, we grew up in situations that were not ideal. But even with doing that, we were tougher. You know, this is not to put down this current generation, but we were just tougher, man. And we were ready to get out of the house at 18. We were ready to go out and live our life. We weren't wanting to be stuck up under our parents telling us what to do and dictating our life. We had plans. Most of us did. Now, some of us who didn't have plans, well, you know, you got those results of your life as well. But nowadays, and we as parents, we're wising up. You know, I used to talk down about these kids being 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 and staying at home. But now, man, I think my thought process is changing, and it has changed. Because when you look at the trajectory of this world and what is going on, the cost of living, the child's ability to make a good decision, you know, the child's expectations of you as a parent in their 20s, expecting to take care of them, is just, it's crazy to me. But I've thought about it though, and I've analyzed some things. And when you look at, families that focus on building wealth, a lot of their children don't leave their home until they're well in their 20s and they're ready to go. And so my thought process is changing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not about to have my son or my daughter laid up in the house and me and my wife are getting up, going out to our work, to our grind, to our hustle, whatever. And they're still in the bed sleep. Nah, that ain't happening. They got to be doing something that's productive, something that will eventually lead to their independence. And in many cases, in some cases, unless you're going to school to be an engineer, a doctor, unless you're going to school to be a rocket scientist or something like that, and you need to be focused on your schoolwork and not trying to get a job to pay your rent or get a job to pay your car note and stuff like that. Now, I do believe you still should have some type of part-time job so you can pay for your expenses and go out and have fun. But if you're not going for one of those type of professions where you need more than just a 4-year degree, you gotta get yourself together. Now, situation and circumstances will determine what's going on. It's always a blessing that when a child is going through something, they have the ability to come back home and essentially press that reset button. Maybe you young and you got married young and you went out here and went out into the world and things didn't work out with you and your young wife or you and your young husband and you need a reset. Yes, come back home. You should have the ability to do that. But you got to have a plan to get on your feet. Not to come back home and stay and sit home, eat cereal, watch cartoons, and let your mama do your laundry. Nah. I'm talking about come back home with a plan, laid out, full force, focused. So this is what's just on my heart today. We know our children, our babies, and I don't care how old they are, man, we're going to always love them. But we can't coddle them. Sometimes we just got to let them go. Now, we know our mistakes that we've made and the damage that we have done to our children. There is not a parent on this earth that hasn't damaged their kid in some way, one way or another, in their decision making. Maybe they over-disciplined like me, right? I'm not one to give advice when it comes to kids and children at all. At least I don't think so, even though my kids are very well-mannered. They're very respectful. And in many cases, they are eager to help. They can hold up a good conversation. But I have to take some ownership in raising my children into the things that they lack in their life. Like my oldest son, he lacks some emotion when it comes to his younger siblings. But that comes out of a place of frustration. Regardless, I'm trying to work with him to be more mindful on how he talks to them. Is it working? I don't know. We'll figure it out, right? But my intentions in loving my children and helping my children and making sure that they are able to go out and take care of themselves and to be productive citizens of society, get their own family and all that kind of stuff, and not be relying upon me and my wife. That's the goal. But a friend of mine told me, man, and this is sticking with me because it was just so powerful. I don't know where he got it from. But Chase, I'm going to go ahead and attribute this statement to you. And it helped me to forgive and to understand. Now that I'm a father. And I've been a father for over 20 years. And I look back at the mistakes and, the things that my oldest daughter has said that, oh, you did this with me, but not with them, and this and the other. And, and I used to complain about how my mom did certain stuff with me and not with my brother, and I'm not saying advantages, but I'm like discipline, right? And I want to leave you guys with this before I head into the gym, because my pre-workout is starting to kick in. This is our first time living. Let me repeat that again. Chase said to me, he said, Lawrence, this is our first time living. We've never been alive before. We've never done this before. This is our first time living. So because of this is our first time living, and the person who damaged us, that was their first time living, and they're still living. God willing that they are. This is our wives, our children's first time living. This is not to say to give an excuse, but to understand, to extend grace. The same grace that we want extended to us. So I wanted to leave you with this. Before the new year hits of 2025, consider these words. This is your first time living. Whoever you have an issue with, whether it be a parent, family member, a child, a significant other, this is their first time living too. And you've made mistakes and they've made mistakes. And I want to encourage you to find a way to extend them the same grace that it should be extended to you. Now, I hope that resonates with someone. Maybe some of y'all, man, like, Lawrence, man, you on that soft stuff. No. As a man, we move through different seasons of life. And based on my age, I'm 44 years old right now. Never mind the gray that's in the beard, because it doesn't matter, because there are people out here with gray and they're still making young boy mistakes. Okay? They still out here living like young boys. So the way I look, it doesn't matter, right? But I'm moving into a season of life that, according to Jim Rohn, he has a book called Seasons of Life. And I'm moving into the fall portion of my life, right? There's a spring when you're young, when you're real young. I believe you're younger than 25. I'll get you those metrics when I can. When you're younger than 25 or something like that, and then there's the summer of your life where you are between the ages of like 25 and like 45. right? So I'm ending up the summer of my life, right? And it kind of goes along biologically too on how men's testosterone start to fade around 35. We'll have another conversation about that when it comes to men's health. But I'm moving into the fall of my life. And as I do that, I tend to sit back, take my time in conversations and think a little bit more. And those who know me personally, I have to admit, I'm becoming a little bit more gentle. And those words and me do not go together at all. So knowing this and considering this, I need to make sure that I do my best in setting an example that's worthy to follow, but not only that, but keeping the door open to be able to share and spread wisdom. And it already has begun. I have about 7 young men who I stay in contact with who don't regularly have good connection or no connection at all with their fathers, who have reached out to me and stay in contact with me on a weekly basis. Sometimes, once a month we chat and get caught up. And they really value the information that I'm giving to them because I am just basically preparing them for the next season of their life. A lot of them are making some young boy mistakes that we all make and we all have made. But if I can help them mature a little bit more, a little bit faster, and still yet enjoy the season that they're in right now, then they'll have better results than I did. And then at the same time, I am truly, really learning to extend that grace. And I said learning. I didn't say I have fully, completely reached the mark, because I haven't. Because I still got a lot of life in me. I'm about to hit the gym right now, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning out here on the West Coast. So I want to say this at the end of this, and I just want to repeat what I said. We are all living life for the first time. This is the first time. And remember, extend the grace to those in your life, the same grace as you want extended to you. Have a blessed Monday, and I hope your gatherings with your family, whatever you call it. Some people call it Thanksgiving. Some people don't do it. Whatever it is, call your family if you're away. If you're in the military or the service, call them. Tell them you love them. Talk to somebody. Write them a letter. Do whatever it may be. Make a phone call. Send a text. And I hope you have a blessed holiday. I'll see you at Thanksgiving.